last season Spurs struggled to offload players and then had to loan them in the end. Do you think fans are going to be patient on this, and it might even be a situation where you're not able to bring in transfer fees for quite a few of these players?
Look, it may well be the case. I mean, you just don't know. It's a funny sort of transfer season at the moment. There's a lot happening at the top end, and sort of very little below that when you look at it, from a sort of external point of view. But again, I'm reticent to send any messages around that stuff because it's not something I'm really close to right now in terms of my involvement with where we're at in terms of those outgoings. So obviously I'm aware of the kind of what's happening in all those spaces because, as I said, at the moment our squad's too big and we need to trim it. But in terms of what that's going to look like from any kind of aspect, I'm not really sure how it's all going to end up.
And you've spoken before about when you met Sir Alex Ferguson at that game when you were 34. Looking back over what you said about it before, you said it was very significant for you. What have you taken from his management over the years into your own game?
I'm not taking him to my own game, but you obviously, these people like Sir Alex are people who, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, they have an effect on you. Like, it's not just football managers, but like I said before, I'm a pretty curious kind of guy, so you learn things from all sorts of people and all sorts of events, and I've always tried to constantly, nourish that part of my brain that is constantly curious about things. So it was just significant for me because, like I said, we were coming from nowhere, playing in one of the world's most iconic stadiums, the Maracanã, against one of the greatest teams at that time that football had seen, and against one of the greatest managers. So it was, as I've said a million times, I had sort of 5 or 6 minutes with him, and apart from saying hello, I just listened. And that's the best way to kind of have interactions with people like that, because no point in me talking for 5 minutes. He's not going to learn anything off me.
Just back to what you were saying about learning things from all over the place. You already proved that earlier in this press conference with that podcast we're doing through. What's the most, seemingly from the outside, obscure source that you've gained inspiration from?
I don't know. I mean, it's just people, mate. Sometimes I'll meet. You just have an interaction with a person. You walk away, and for them it's insignificant, but for you, you go. You walk away thinking that was. Never thought about it like that. I've been fortunate that the game's taken me all around the world, and I've met people from different cultures, different upbringing, different values, different ways of seeing the world, and like I said, you kind of listen to them and you go, I've never thought about it like that, and you walk away and you have a different perspective straight away. Whether that you put that into some sort of action in terms of the way you live your life, I don't know, but it's there. It's a seed, that is planted. We all have limited sort of brain space. Mine's getting more limited because I remember the podcast, but not the person I interviewed. So that tells you where I'm at in my life. But those kind of things. I love that about life. I love that about football. Football's given me that. I've felt like I've never stopped learning because, like I said, I'm really curious, and the football's told me that. To never kind of have a narrow mind about things.
I think it was Sia.
No, it wasn't, mate.
It wasn't.
It was an Aussie. I'll get it, mate. It's a bloke. Did a duet with Kylie Minogue. Come on, Litchy. No, come on. You guys have got to open your mind, mate. You got a very narrow focus. Huh?
I think it was Nick Cave.
Nick Cave. Thank you, Lynchy. Thank you. Jesus. Talk about open minds, the most closed-minded group of individuals. Jason Donovan and Peter Andre.
Nick Cave is deeper than Peter Andre.
Well,
just on that, Ange, I wondered if that philosophy that you heard from Nick Cave is that the
Yeah, I just that expression, just hit me because there's a lot of times we talk about, people always say to me, can you keep the play, do you keep the players happy or can you keep the supporters happy? And I just don't think that describes. You don't sort of skip into a football ground and have a smile on your face. That's what we love about it, especially our game, because scoring goals, which is the ultimate sort of release, is such a hard thing to do that preceding that is suffering, because every time the opposition have the ball, they get to your goal and you're kind of looking at it through clenched teeth. And so I just thought it was a really good expression. And I can't remember what Nick was talking about it in reference to, but I just thought from a football context, I just thought it was really. And like I said, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but that's me at 57 listening to something and I hadn't even thought about it. And I thought, and that's the beauty of it. And I just thought it was a really apt description.
Yeah, just back on the stadium for a may. At the White Hart Lane, the old one, last season was unbeaten, and it was a fortress, proper fortress. Is it too daunting a stadium almost to build as a home and a fortress, because away teams come there and they're also inspired to play their best football? Does it make it harder to make it that sort of fortress?
No, I don't think so. I think, those kind of things are built on the back of, context in terms of the experience you give opposition teams. If they come to our ground and they look forward to playing us, I think that's how you create that sort of mentality. It's not about, yes, it's a beautiful stadium and absolutely, but, as much as opposition teams may enjoy playing in the venue, what we've got to ensure is they don't enjoy the experience of it, and that's up to us. It's how you what sort of mentality, because, irrespective of the venue, it's, what makes things, what makes grounds difficult to play at is the experience you have on them. Whether that's the environment the fans create, or the football you play, or the challenges you put to them. And that's how we have to, if we want to make our home ground. Everyone uses the word fortress. I don't really know what that means, but if we want to make it a place where we see it as an advantage, then we've got to make sure that the experience of opposition clubs is not a pleasant one in a football sense.
In terms of intimidation, have you been right to the top of it, or is that not your comment?
No chance, mate. I said I'm curious, but not stupid, mate. No chance.
Well, slightly left field then, with the club's motto being to dare is to do, what would you say was the most daring thing you've done in your life?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not that sort of adventurous. I think a lot of the decisions I've made in my career, that's probably the most daring things. I've taken on some pretty big challenges, and where, while others may see it as, an obvious thing, it meant, leaving some security and some surety behind, because I've usually left on the back of success where, I could have continued on, but I left our national team before a World Cup, mate. It's pretty daring. I mean, I'm giving up a World Cup with no security or no real. So I've tried to be like that in my professional life. I'm a lot more conservative in my personal life, mate.
Do you feel around?
Yeah, very much so.
Can you just ask you, saying about the sort of style and sort of the direction you want to go in, what markers are you using to actually work out whether you think the style isn't going in the direction you want it to go? What parameters or markers do you?
Yeah, look, I mean, we kind of work on those things daily. It's some of it is metrics. So we have some internal markers that we look for in the game style in terms of what we do when we have the ball, what we do when we don't have the ball. There's some physical markers that we look for. There's some daily markers in our training that we look for, improvements in areas. then it drills down to the individuals and seeing the individuals, are they embracing? Every session that the coaches put together has meaning, has some kind of outcome, then we measure that in a game. So you've got the scoreboard that tells you a fair bit, yeah. So, but everyone can see that, yeah. That's right. So we need to measure our progress, but it's not one or two things. It's a whole range of things. That's why it's hard to. People say, well, where are you at? Well, in some areas we're in a good space. In other areas we've got miles to go, and that miles to go may always be there because there's always another challenge. But did we see elements of our game last week? Were we trying to impose ourselves on the game? Yes. Did we play the game in the areas that we want to? For the most part, yes. Did we create the opportunities that we wanted to? No. So they're the kind of things, but it's a fairly broad thing. It's not just we want 10 shots on goal and that's why we know where we're going.
What's one about the players? Obviously, you said Harry, you were quite keen that it was all resolved before the start of the season. But the ones who are left here, if you go back a year, Antonio was quite firm, sort of, been 4 players and you wanted these players. Were you quite sort of regimented with Daniel, where you would say, right, these players must go, you must just get them out the door, I need this squad and I need these ones in and do it? Or are you much more flexible?
Well, you have to be flexible, mate. It doesn't work that, you can't, there's no...
He wasn't, so...
Well, yeah, I know, but I think even within that context, I'm not going to speak for Antonio, but, I just don't think that anything in football these days is that black and white. There's just so many moving parts to it, and the reality is you may not get a player out and he may be part of your squad and you need him because you're not going to go with a man down, you need that person. So you may be wanting to bring someone in, but it's just not going to happen. You can't just then turn around and say, well, we can't achieve what we want to. So, but we're in constant dialogue with Daniel and everyone else in the football department, and like I said, there's a lot of moving parts in that, and hopefully when we get to the end of the window, we want to be in a space where we've got the majority of what we needed to do done.
Okay, thanks guys. Thank you.